Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins traveling over to Foxborough to play the New England Patriots. The Dolphins ended up winning 17-16, and quite a bit happened towards the end of the game that we'll discuss. But, before me and Burge get into the Patriots side of things, I want to turn the floor over to Puma and get his initial thoughts on Miami Dolphins, what he liked, what he thought about Tua's performance. It's quite something to go into New England and win a game against the Patriots. So, congrats, Puma, So, what was your thoughts on what you saw out of the Dolphins on Sunday?
I mean, my thoughts on the Dolphins defense, hard hitting. I don't know if Flo made it a point to be like, yo, I want you to rattle the kid's cage, because to Mac Jones' credit, that kid was taking shots. That kid was taking shots in the pocket. He was taking shots after the throw. You could make a logical argument. Some of those could have been roughing the passer flags. I think one of them was. But, the defense was good. But, Xavier Howard, as advertised, the best corner in football, in my opinion, forcing that fumble late in the game. But, Tua, it still was, kind of dinking and dunking. There were times where he did have, 30-plus yard plays with Devontae Parker, Uncle Devontae, and then Jalen Waddle, who I think is going to be a stud. That kid's got the goods, like you said, Jay, coming out of Alabama. But, everything else is the offensive line wasn't that great. The running game was okay. Myles Gaskin was all right. For what the offensive line was able to open up against this defense, it was I'm not super ecstatic going into a home game against the Buffalo Bills, which we're going to break down in a little bit, but enough to build upon. If we can squeak out an upset against the Buffalo Bills, then, okay, the team's starting to come around. I still want to see Tua push the ball down the field. The couple of times that he did, it ended in an interception bouncing off of Mike Gesicki's hands at one point. So, it's still, I want to see the deep shot. I can live, I'll say it till the day I fucking die. I can live with Tua throwing an interception, trying to push the ball downfield, than trying to do death by 1,000 razor blades. That's it. I can live with the picks. I don't care. Be the next 30 for 30 for all I care. Just push the ball down the field.
Puma, what do you think is the ceiling for Tua? Are we talking top 5, top 10? Because I'm watching this game on Sunday, and I'm expecting more out of Tua, right?
Honestly, right now, from what we've seen last year and now, Alex Smith. That's it. He's not I haven't seen Tua take a game over yet. I haven't seen Tua get into a huddle and say, listen, motherfuckers, I'm putting you on my back, and I'm sorry, I'm dropping MFers here. But in reality, I have not seen him go into a huddle and drop an MFer, I'm putting this team on my back, let's go, we're going to march down the field, we're gonna keep our foot on this team's throat, let's go. It's just been dinking and dunking, death by 1,000 razor blades, break glass and have Fitzpatrick come in and be the killer. Or, hey, Tua's not big enough, we have to have Jacoby Brissett come in and, run for 2 yards or try to get a team to go offsides. Yeah. That is what I'm working with right now. Which is not what I was sold when he was coming out of Alabama.
Yeah, listen, I think you're spot on, man. I think I'm finally starting to see the fact that Tua might not be it, man. I was holding out hope because of what I saw on the college level. With Mac Jones, he got the team from week 1 in Alabama, and he essentially took them through a build-up process and went through the cupcakes first and then SEC play. So he had quite a bit of footing when he got to the playoffs. Tua was thrown into the fire in the half of a national championship game when Jalen Hurts got benched. And when I saw out of him that night, I'll never forget, because the moxie you have, the confidence you got to have to come into a national championship game and throw darts down the field is something I'll never forget. So I thought that would translate over to the NFL, but so far, I am massively disappointed. So much so that I thought Mac Jones, a rookie that's been in the NFL for 4 months, way outplayed him. I thought Mac Jones looked head and shoulders better than Tua, right? And that's where I'm going to start the Patriots analysis on this side of things, where, for the most part, I liked what I saw out of Mac Jones on Sunday, right? He looked poised. He got the ball out quickly. Obviously the Pats were trying to give him a easy reads and try to have him go through his progression as soon as possible. But he seemed like he can belong in the NFL, and he absolutely outplayed Tua, and I think it's very encouraging, right? I have nothing negative to say of Mac Jones' performance. If I'm nitpicking, I'd say that there's way too many little bit checkdowns, right? I wish there was some more looking down the field kind of thing. 31 out of his 39 pass attempts or within 10 yards. But listen, that's something, you can't even bring up because the kid's first start. I was absolutely happy with what I saw out of Mac Jones.
The offensive lineman, that I'm going to say this, Burge, and the floor is yours. I was listening to the way home from work the last third and fourth quarter, and there were times where I believe it was Zolak said this offensive lineman is going to get Mac Jones killed. I can't remember his name.
Heron?
Yes,
It was Heron.
Heron
Yeah.
was going to get Mac killed, and he was spot on. Like I went back and I looked, and y'all can agree with me. Like Mac Jones was taking shots, and he was taking shots chest level and below. Like there were more leg shots and knee shots than there were to the chest, if you know what I'm saying. So. The kid stood pat. Like, the kid stood tall. He showed me a lot. He looked the part. And, Burge, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, just following up on Heron. Heron got benched in that game for, he came in to take over for Trent Brown, who got hurt on the first series. And then, I think they went to, I think his name is Dasher. Is that right, Jay? The third-string right tackle they brought in. They ended up benching Heron and brought in another, their third-string tackle. I believe it's Yashiv Dasher, I think his name is.
Yashiv Dasher. I'm blanking.
I think
I'll
his
look
name,
it
but
up.
Well, he didn't kill Mac Jones. We know that much.
And he came in. He played better than Heron did. That was a huge disappointment because Heron had done very well as a swing tackle last year. I remember a lot of people were very happy with how he had stepped in, when he needed to. But getting into the game here, Jay, I kind of echo a lot of what you said with Mac Jones. I thought he vastly outplayed Tua. I was very happy with what I saw out of him, and is probably one of the only real high points that I can take out of this game is that the kid can play. There were no throws that he made, and I know they did not attempt a ball to the end zone. I'll get to that in a minute. But there were no throws that Mac Jones made that made me cringe or be like, "What the hell are you doing there?" Like. Every throw that he made seemed like it was the right decision on the plays. He just looked sound. He looked, like you said, Puma, he looked poised. He looked like he was, he wasn't, the spotlight wasn't too big for him. And the pass to James White on the wheel route was an unbelievable throw. He dropped it right in his basket there. I know it didn't go for a score or anything, but that play definitely wowed me. When I saw that, I was like, wow. This kid can definitely play. He makes the right decisions, and I love the fact that he was standing in there taking the hits to get the ball out. And obviously, I don't love that he's getting hit, but to know that he's not shying away from those hits and that he's going to follow through on his throws, in the presence of a guy barreling down on him, gives me some very, very, very good feelings about this kid going forward.
I think. I'm sorry. I think
no,
honestly,
go ahead.
the only time he had happy feet was when he fumbled the football at the beginning of the game. The rest of the time, the kid had ice in his veins.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to hold that against him because me and Bro are talking about that. It's going to happen. Like, I mean, it is what it is. This is why we were hoping Mac would start so we could get through those, early rookie moments and get through those lows so eventually we can build on it. Now, obviously, he has to kind of move forward, and, the upcoming Jets game is going to give us some more indication of how the offensive staff views him. Are they going to let him open up a little bit more, throw some stuff downfield? That's all going to come with it. I mean, it is what it is when you open the game and it's your first game and you're a little bit freaked out. I mean, that's totally normal,
Yep, absolutely. And, I was definitely freaked out by that. I was like, wow, the kid actually tried to throw an incomplete pass backwards. I was like, yikes, that's not a good start.
Well,
but anyways, he made up
one
for
of the
it.
few times that you were freaked out and I wasn't. I was like, oh, you know what? It is what it is. I mean, that's even if
you were like, it's ups and downs,
It is what it is, bro. I mean, it's literally his first drive. And the same thing happened with the Jets down in Carolina. Zach Wilson was god-awful in the first half. He took like 5 sacks, threw a pick or whatever. Second half, he looked really, really good. I was watching some of his highlights this morning, and like he started really coming on in the second half. He started seeing where the blitz was coming from, what windows were open, and he was getting the ball in there. So it's going to happen. Even Trevor Lawrence kind of had an up and down day, but he was still stronger as the game went on. So I'm totally fine with living that as long as he keeps building off of it next week.
Absolutely. And, just an easy way for me to break down this game. I kind of came up with a 3 ups and 3 downs for the Patriots in this game. So I'll briefly talk about the 3 ups. Obviously, we just hit on one. I'm going to say Mac Jones, so I'm not going to rehash that again. The second up here is Nelson Aguilera. he came in and he was obviously, he caught the touchdown pass from Mac Jones. I thought he looked really good in the offense. The guy wasn't even sure if he was going to suit up and play, and he came in and he made an impact. So I was happy about that. And again, I know the Patriots lost, so these ups are a little bit, taking it with a grain of salt, so to speak. The last ones I want to get into are Matt Judon and Josh Uche in this game. I thought they looked really good on the defensive side of the ball. Judon with that epic hit on Tua on the interception where he chased him down and he absolutely manhandled him. Mm-hmm. It was just like, wow, what a hit!
His back teeth were floating.
Yeah. I thought he broke 2.5. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, that was a beautiful hit. Clean, nothing dirty about it. It was just a great hit. And then Josh Uche, barreled through and came up with a sack. I'm really excited to see what this kid turns into as the year goes on. I think they really might have something in him going forward. Now to the fun part, Jay.
Here we go.
3 down.
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm gonna start. And this would have been an up if not for the fumbling mishaps that they had as the running backs. I thought they ran the ball pretty well. It was very evident that they came in, that they were going to come out and run the ball. Damian Harris went over 100 yards. But those fumbles, man, Ramondre Stevenson with that fumble, early on. And then, the back-breaking fumble of Damian Harris. I was ready to crucify him on Sunday. I've since gotten my bearings under me.
Ready to crucify. Burge, you were driving the nails down.
I know. I was telling Jay.
You had the hammer, you had one nail in, you had the second nail in, and we talked you off the ledge by poking the bear. We stopped you from putting that third nail in the guy.
You turned on him so quickly, man. You used to love Damian Harris.
I know. I still do. But listen, I told Jay earlier today, Puma, you weren't. I don't think this was a conversation with you, but I need that night to when the Patriots lose to just get my irrational venting thoughts out, and then I will wake up Monday morning and
you did.
I know.
You did.
Just get me through that day, and then everybody listening, if you follow my Twitter feed the day of the Patriots games, just know if they lose and I'm being absolutely irrational on Twitter, it's because it's me venting. But anyways. That fumble that Damian Harris had at the end of the game was absolutely inexcusable. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care about that. If they're being given the ball in that situation, you protect that ball no matter what. And the onus for me is on the player. And I know you guys disagree about that. I'm sure we'll get into it, once I get through this segment, this part of it here. But that's inexcusable. You cannot put the ball on the ground when you're in the red zone with 3 minutes to go when you're down a point. It brought back PTSD with the Buffalo game last year when Cam Newton did the same damn thing. Fumbled the game away at the end when they were driving to win. Second down on this game was the offensive play calling with the coaching staff. I was very unhappy with how conservative this play calling was, even as the game was going on. I get at the beginning of the game, you come out, you're going to be conservative. You're not going to put Mac Jones in a situation where he needs to, where he may fail or turn the ball over or whatever. But as the game went on, and you could see that Mac Jones was, he was making the right decisions. He wasn't putting the team in a position to, turn the ball over. Let the kid throw. Let him go. Let him attempt the ball to the end zone, for God's sakes. Like, that really irked me that they did not unleash him. And granted, I know they threw the ball, I think it was 39 times in this game. But let him air it out, because he was clearly showing that he was ready for the moment. Finally, my last third, then I'll shut up, Jay, let you go, is the secondary. I was very, very displeased with how, especially the corners played on the opening drive of the game, the opening drive of the half, and then that last drive after the Damian Harris fumble. They were letting these slants go like crazy. Part of that, I think you could put on the play calling because they weren't in man. They were in a lot of zone most of this game. But, Puma, I'm with you on Jalen Mills, man. I'm off that
now
wagon.
you come around. Now you come around. Welcome to the Jalen Mills Human Gas Can Club.
Absolutely. The so-called
now you see what I'm talking about.
Green Goblin. I am done with him. I mean, he did have a nice breakup. I think it was in the third quarter. But other than that, that dude was abysmal. I am done with him. Let's just hope week 7 Stephon Gilmore comes back, because this secondary absolutely needs him in there so they can start running their normal defense where they run a lot of man versus zone. J.C. Jackson wasn't great either. He had a couple of nice plays, but still nothing stood out. Those 3 drives, Tua and the Dolphins just ran their thing with them. It seemed like there was no real pushback on that. Just get me Stephon Gilmore back. I'm looking forward to week 7 for this secondary. I'm done with Jalen Mills, man. Jonathan Jones, great interception on that ball by Tua. Obviously, it hit off the hands of Gesicki, like you said, Puma, but get me Gilmore back. Go ahead, Jay.
Let's be honest. Like, Tua and Devontae Parker could have ran that quick slant off the release all game, and nobody was going to stop them.
They were running that RPO, like, quick slant game all day long, I'm like, It looks like it was basic college stuff, too. I was surprised that they're having so much success with it. But listen, for the most part, Burge, I agree with you on the positives. Like, I really loved what I saw out of Mac Jones. Judon will probably be on my positive list as well. The man's an absolute freak. I mean, he's going to have, like, one of those years where he's going to become like a top 5 defender in the NFL because of how well he's going to produce. Other than that, man, I don't think I can really put like Uche or like Mills or even like, Phillips had a better second half. But for the most part, the rest of the team just didn't play that well, like it's a weird game because statistically the Patriots dominated this game. Time of possession, yards, all that stuff except for turnovers, and the big turnover at the end of the game kind of led us to a loss. So if I had to, do the whole blame pie thing, I would give Damon Harrison obviously 25% of the blame and 75% of the blame on the coaching staff because I do believe
oh God, here we go.
Bill Belichick and the coaching staff got outcoached. I 100% believe that Brian Flores essentially ran circles around him, right? And this happened last year as well, and we could always point to Cam Newton being, oh, well, listen, your quarterback sucks, so obviously, you can't really put the onus on Bill Belichick. However, on Sunday, Mac Jones had a great game. Like, he had an absolutely fantastic game, and you were in position to win the game, but you just couldn't come up with the stops late in the game to give him the ball back. And I'm talking about what happened after the fumble, right? Bird, you make it seem like when the fumble happened, the game ended immediately. That's not the case. Obviously, there was still 3 minutes left on the clock, and the Dolphins had, a whole drive? I mean, at one point they had a penalty, and it was first.
I didn't say that at all.
It was 1st and 14, and what I was just hoping for was Bill Belichick and that, genius coaching of his to somehow get the ball back for one more drive, right? I was hoping that we would essentially, give Mac Jones one more try, but, the bigger point being made, and some of the guys on the Boston radio shows were making it, like, the 1-score losses are kind of insane over the last year and a half or so. Since 2020, they're 3-5 in 1-score losses when there were 30-16 from 24 to 2019. Right? This it's something where I just wish that we would go back to the old ways of the Patriots, where we played great in late games, came up with the big stops, had situational awareness, and essentially were able to close that game. That's something that we just couldn't do on Sunday night.
I'll say these 2 things before you guys go like 15 rounds. 2 things. One. The penalties are on, like, listen.
Absolutely.
The coaching staff. Like, there were times where it was undisciplined. Like, I think it was the beginning of the 3rd quarter, because I was driving home from work, and Gunnar Olszewski had a great punt return. And that got called back because Matt Judon was on the Dolphins sideline and was sitting on the bench, and it got called for basically taunting. It was unnecessary roughness, but that's basically what it was. All right, and then the next play, so you just lost 15 yards of real estate off that punt return. The next play, offensive lineman, I believe, I forget his name, was probably the same guy who was trying to get Mac Jones killed. Gets called for personal foul for another 15 yards. So you just lost 30 yards off of a great punt return. Like, things like that are on the coaching staff. And I'm saying this.
I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'll agree with you on that.
I'm saying this not just about Belichick with the fumble stuff. I'm going to say this about Ron Rivera and Antonio Gibson. I'm going to say this about John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. I'm not putting the fumbles on the coach, but what I am saying is going into week 2, where you have a key division matchup for the Washington football team. You have a huge matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. God gave you 2 hands for a goddamn reason. Like, you need to hold on to the football. Like, Washington would have won that game against the Chargers if Antonio Gibson didn't fumble for a second time on his own 5-yard line. Justin Herbert made him pay. We all know what happened last night with Lamar Jackson. Like it or not, call it fundamentals. I understand the players need to take personal responsibility, but it is on the coaching staff to hammer home. You putting the ball on the ground is putting us in a bad position. Jay, we were talking about this offline after the game. The old Patriot way was, we're going to have the other team shoot themselves in the foot. We're going to remain composed. We're going to keep doing our game, and we're just going to let these guys shoot themselves. And that didn't happen Sunday.
No, that's exactly right. That didn't happen Sunday. But if the Patriots coaching staff is going to bench the rookie, Stevenson, who fumbled the ball early, you're going to rely on your quote-unquote veteran running back that you have, he's 3 years in the league now, to hold on to the ball. And to me, that is 100% on the player. All right? You can't have all your running backs fumbling the ball. At some point, there's got to be personal responsibility on that. And to me, that's not on Bill Belichick. That's not on Josh McDaniels. That's not on Ivan Fears, the running back coach. These players need to know that they need to have the ball secured in these situations. The one thing you can't do is fumble the ball. And they did it. And you're 100% right. This is typical of the Patriots, what they were, pre-2020, where they wait around for other teams to shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't do that. The roles were reversed in this game. The Patriots shot themselves in the foot, and they ended up with a loss. Now, I want J.J. Taylor to be active in week two here against the Jets. It's clear that they need to have as many running backs active as possible. There was a report out that Damian Harris had been fatigued going into that situation. In that situation, I would put that on McDaniels and the coaching staff, that you don't put a fatigued running back in there. I get it that Stevenson was benched. They didn't trust him to make that. He's a rookie. I understand that. But they had just given a carry to Brandon Bolden in that game. They had him active. Why, if Damian Harris is fatigued, why are you not going to trust a guy who's been in the league for 8 years now, to go out there and just give you a carry to give Damian Harris a break to spell him? That part of it.
Put James White back there too.
Exactly. Give James White the ball, 100%. And that is a fair second guess, and I'm not going to argue against that.
Burg, let me ask you a question, and I'm not asking this, in a weird or negative way, but
sure you aren't.
I'm concerned about the fact that we can't seem to win close games anymore, right? And last year, obviously, a lot of it was put on Cam. The fact that we're 3-5 since the beginning of 2020 in 8 points or less games, a lot of that was on Cam last year. But this year, with a great performance by Mac Jones, you would have thought they walked away with a win on Sunday, right? And it just seems to me that the margin of error that Brady provided is obviously not there anymore. And it seems that Belichick's crapping all over himself because of that, right? The margin of error was so big before. I mean, anything could happen. He'd come in, erase it, and Brady would lead us down the field and we'd win the game. After the fumble, I in the back of my mind, I just had a feeling that somehow Belichick would do something, have some sort of defensive scheme in the back pocket, some sort of blitz that he hasn't shown all game, to bring the heat after that fumble with 3:31 left to get the ball back in Mac Jones' hand, and maybe you can try another field goal or drive down the field. But, there were times where the Dolphins were 1st and 14 after a 4-yard penalty with 3 minutes left, and they still gave up 13 yards. It just seems like the old Belichick would have had some sort of answer in that situation, and he did it on Sunday.
See, for me with that is the second guess for me in that situation was the usage of the timeouts. I would have allowed Miami an attempt to, or at least waited till after the 2-minute warning to start using them. Look, the secondary was trash yesterday. We all agree on that. And those little dink and dunk slant routes that the Patriots could not stop all game came back to bite them. I think it was Mills on. I think it was Waddle, or was it Parker at the end?
Probably Parker. Parker had his lunch.
Side note: I can't wait for Devontae Parker to become a Patriots fan so I can buy his jersey for my little guy. Anyways, yes, that was brutal, and Jalen Mills wasn't even in the same realm as Parker when he caught that ball, and he ended up going and getting the first down. And the play of the timeouts in this game irked me that they used them all before the 2-minute warning, because then you're hedging your bets that you are gonna stop the Dolphins on this next, on that series, on that set of downs that they had when you're calling the timeouts. And in the end, they didn't. And to be honest with you, once Jay, I'm going to be different than you on this. Once the fumble happened, I knew the game was over. I was just like, I have no faith in the defense to get the stop. I just didn't.
But I mean, we have the greatest coach of all time. He should be able to like have something in his back pocket with 3:31 left. The game at that point was not over. There are many games in the NFL, like last night, right? The Raiders ended up with one big play to end the game. And that's not what happened with Damon Harrison. He had one bad play, but the game was still going on after that. And the bigger concern I have is we spent all this money in the offseason on the defense, and they looked kind of trash. Besides Judon, they still look soft on defense, especially up the middle. They got pushed around, and I did not expect that week 1 of the 2021 football season. I expected the defense to carry the offense. I expected it to lean on the defense until the offense kind of came about, but that it was kind of almost a role reversal where Mac Jones looked decent moving the football, and the defense was just kind of almost awful, truthfully.
Well, I think Christian Barmore showed something in this game when he was out there. He was pushing guys around on the defensive front there, and I think that he's going to end up developing into a Will Fork style of player for this defense. I really believe that. That being said, I mean, I don't know how. You look at the secondary of this team, and the way Jalen Mills played in this game. I just there was something in my head that just said this is done. I don't have faith in Jalen Mills. And again, it comes back to me clamoring for Stephon Gilmore to come back in week 7. The defense is going to look. It's going to be like a complete 180 as to what this defense is going to look like once Stephon Gilmore is back out there and they can start playing their man defense. Because obviously you're going to, I know what your answer is to this, but are you going to trust Jalen Mills to go one-on-one with the second best target on the opposing team's arsenal? No, I'm not. I sure as hell I'm not. Yeah. I'm ready to just write that guy off. I'm done with him at this point. He's going to show me something more in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what are we looking for in the Jets-Pats game?
Oh, I think it's going to be a steamroll. I mean, I think this is
a get-right game?
Exactly what the doctor ordered. Anytime you have the New York Jets on your schedule after a bad loss, I mean, that's what you need. That's essentially, I expect a double-digit win here, right? I expect the offense to do whatever they want to do. I expect the defense to put a lot of pressure on Zach Wilson, who eventually was sacked 6 times against the Carolina Panthers because he was, essentially deer in headlights in the first half of that game. But I think on Sunday you're going to see a completely different ballgame, completely different game from the Patriots, and I think we're going to end up winning that game fairly easily.
What about you, Burge?
for me, I think you're going to finally see them pull the reins off Mac Jones a little bit. I think you're going to see them let him throw the ball. I think they're obviously still going to be run heavy in this game. I really think J.J. Taylor will be active in this game as another back option for the Patriots. And, I think, Belichick's defenses tend to eat up rookie quarterbacks. Let's call it a cliche, whatever you want to call it. But I think that the defense will be okay in terms of getting pass rush against the New York Jets, considering Mekhi Beckham is going to be out in this game. So I think that you're going to see a lot of pressure from the front 7 of this team, and it's going to help mask some of the significant deficiencies in the secondary. Mac Jones, I think, is going to have himself a day, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Whether or not it's going to be a double-digit win or not, I'm not going to go that far. I still think that the way that they're going to scheme this game, it may end up being closer than people think, but they're going to walk out of here with a win comfortably.
So if you had to guess right now, would it be Damian Harris, J.J. Taylor, Brennan Bolden, and James White? Do you think they dress the rookie or no?
I think it's very, very possible that he ends up getting it being the inactive this week. I think J.J. Taylor, based on how he has performed in the preseason, he was around last year too. I think he's earned his chance. So yeah, if I was going to guess, it's probably going to be Stevenson as the odd man out. Yeah. Bolden's going to be dressed for his special teams. Either way.
Yeah, and at the moment, the Patriots are a 5.5 favorite going into that Jets game.
Yeah, real quick.
I think they cover it.
I think they cover. I don't think it's going to be double digits. I think it's going to be by a touchdown. Like you said, Jay. Like for all the Zach Wilson ragdolling that he took out from a Carolina front four that's legit. I think it's all like a bunch of former first-round picks. The kid showed me a lot, especially after Mekhi Becton went down. That offensive line's always been bad when Becton's gone out. You can look at what Sam Darnold did with his splits when Becton was in there last year compared to when he wasn't in there. But I think it's going to be just like the doctor ordered. It's going to be a touchdown game, in my opinion. But I think New England walks away with the win.
Yeah, and I'm not, and hopefully, by saying this, I don't come across crazy, but because it's only week 2, but I think this is a low-key must-win game for the Patriots. Like, if they don't win this game...
Oh, if you go 0-2 in the division, you're the bottom with the Jets. Or
the next 2 opponents after the Jets are the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's a real good chance that you'll be looking at 0-4 if you somehow lose this game. So I expect these guys to come out, especially with everything they're hearing, all the negativity after the Dolphins loss. I think they're going to come out and just absolutely blow the doors off of the New York Jets, man. And if they don't, oh my God. Could you imagine the next day? Oof.
Phil Grimal's going to be must listen radio.
Pro Football Radio is going to be must listen because I'm going to end up agreeing with Jay.
Is this
you heard it here, folks.
Is this the game? Is this the game? Okay.
So,
all right.
Bet the mortgage on the Jets. Got it. All right. Jets money line. Let's go.
So you would come across to my side of the aisle if the New York Jets won on Sunday, huh?
It depends on what.
Oh, here we go.
He's backtracking it. He's backtracking it. He's immediately backtracking.
All right. Let's mow the game previews. All right. Let's go.
All right. Let's move on.